Andrew Williams. Today we have Brittany and Eddie Macdonald. I'm super psyched to have both of you here. Thank you for this. And I cannot tell you the range of excitement that is happening right now to have two MCC life coaching couple be interviewed in this podcast. And it's super exciting. And it is a rare treat to have two people who are MCC coaches here with us today. Welcome both of you, and welcome all the viewers. And yeah, let's jump in. So first question. Oh, first, let me just back up just a second. So all of the audience watching, thank you for being here. Welcome to the Coach Training EDU Coaching and Flourish podcast. If you have questions, the Q&A button is the best place to ask that. We're going to go for about 40 minutes here. I have some set questions here for them. And if you have any questions at the 40-minute mark, we'll jump into those. I'm excited. Both Eddie and Brittany, I've known them both for a while. What's it been? 30 years? 40 years?
I mean, we all know that March was like 10 years, so that just added a whole lot of time.
Time is weird right now. It's fluid. Seems like a day is a week. A week is a year. It's been a while, and a good. I mean, it's been lovely. And
probably about 5 years. I think 5 years.
Yeah, 5 years. It's been a while. And we got to see you in person. Like, you stopped by Hood River and on your journeys, and we got to see you. And you recently got married. Well, not recently now. What is it, 2 years?
No, a year.
Yep. 1 year. Okay. Time is catching up to us.
If last month was a year, then yes, 2 years.
Just depends on how we count time.
Right.
March of last year, we were married.
Excellent. And so currently right now, you are running a coaching business where you help companies keep employees who are engaged. So let's start there. Let's start with the present moment. What are the current projects that you are working on?
Yeah, so we're excited. We have the projects we're starting before COVID happened, and the projects that COVID sparked. So quite a few things happening right now. The baseline for AGL is building an engaged world. So employees that wake up and love Monday, trust their boss, love their team, and love their work. That's kind of the framework for all that we do at AGL. Through COVID right now, we're taking some of our expertise from our professions and even before that, our education, doing a lot of work remote and trying to boost online engagement and not just team engagement. So we have a lot of fun ideas for that, kind of disruptive concepts for all staffs, and something we're called Culture Box, which is the box that you need to be a leader with your team and engage them remotely with resources and workbooks and games and all kinds of fun things. So AGL is busy.
And so what is AGL?
So AGL, we're now AGL Coaching for Good officially. So our website is Coaching for Good, and we found that people remember that more. But our name started as Apex Generation Leadership, and that heart, I think, is still carrying through, and that we want to see every generation engaged in the workplace and at home. And we believe that there's a lot of potential in the world right now, especially with COVID. Seeing everyone suddenly make the transition to online work, figuring out how to balance life and family. And we're actually kind of excited, because that was a lot of our heart when we started, was helping people engage in every aspect of their life and love what they do, and wake up and love Mondays, and every day love their work, love their families. So we're now AGL Coaching for Good. That's our official name. I'm sure, John, you know how businesses go through different waves. But we're really enjoying the focus on helping employees wake up and love Mondays and figuring out how to engage in our new online virtual world. But then we also are a big believer in social impact and always looking for ways to give back. And I know this community, especially with so many academic life coaches, appreciate the need and the transformative power of coaching for students. We spent a lot of our careers working with students and realize that oftentimes the people who need it most are the ones who can't afford it.
We actually started trying to build a sustainable model for student coaching. John, you seem to have cracked the code there in a lot of ways, which is really cool. we had a lot of ideas and ultimately settled on what we're doing now, which is a business to business model that we can then offer a pay what you can model to students. So it increases buy-in and dignity. The student says, I can pay for this. It's $10, $5, $20, whatever it is, the student pays, and we cover the rest. We take 10% of what we bring into the company and put it aside for those students.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I know that a lot of the driving force in the coaching world is the executive business world, simply because coaching works. What are you in this realm, in the projects that you have going forward from here? What are you finding, or how are businesses adapting to the changing circumstances?
I think there's kind of two approaches. I think some businesses are just sort of like, we have to just get through this. So, okay, you're working from home, but that's not going to be the normal, and we're going to all come back in a few weeks or months or whatever.
Kind of brute forcing it or white knuckling it.
Yeah, just kind of, we're going to make it work, darn it. But
we've all been there.
Yeah, but I think there's a lot of companies who are realizing that this is the future of work. We were looking at some studies that said like 78% of businesses were going to have flexible work environments, meaning employees were working remote at least part of the time within the next 5 to 10 years anyway. So we were already heading that direction, and I think that COVID just accelerated it. So I think some companies are really looking to say, how can we build this into our model moving forward? And maybe we're not going to be all remote. Maybe we're not going to make this our 100% approach to work. But maybe it would be better to have a virtual all staff and then just get the whole team together regionally in person or things like that. So there's definitely companies, I think, who are thinking long-term with this.
I think beyond that too, there's a lot of evidence to suggest that teams that have 60 to 80% of their workday or work week remote, so 3 to 4 days a week, are happier, more engaged, more resilient. They stay longer. They're less likely to leave and go find another job. So in a lot of ways, this could be the best thing happening to companies right now. They just don't know it yet. Kind of push the pendulum the other direction, and if we can meet in the middle somewhere, it's a good work environment for a lot of people.
Right. And then when an organization is looking at how much money am I spending on rent for a physical office space, like what if I put that someplace else and everyone's happier? I mean, these are different decisions that people are making.
Yeah.
Right. So just to put set an agenda for us in this hour, here's my agenda that I'd love to hit. First, I love what you're doing right now in the force for good, and your website is coachingforgood.org. And so if you want to learn more about Edward and Brittany, check that out, coachingforgood.org. Second thing, I would love to dive into the biggest influences in your life. Biggest influences growing up, middle school, high school, college, what shaped, where you are today. Then go into how you found coaching, what was coaching, how you originally got into coaching, how you're using coaching. And then finally, what was your path like to MCC? And what's it like to be an MCC couple? So that's the journey ahead of us, the map that we have.
Pack it in. That's exciting.
Let's do it. 40 minutes. Let's go.
All right.
First question. What were the big top 2 or 3 major influences in you growing up, and how does it impact you today?
I think number one influence, I would say for both of us, but I can speak for myself for sure. It was my younger brother. He was special needs. We were best friends growing up. He actually passed away just over a year ago. And I learned a lot from him. A lot of what I learned about resilience and mindsets, and so much of the head work and the heart work behind coaching, I think I learned from Josh. If you have a special needs sibling or a child, you understand. And if you don't, I'm sorry, you don't. But you can try. And there's something about watching someone tackle everyday challenges of life that we take for granted every single day and thrive in that, with way less to work with. It just challenges you to assess some of the underlying assumptions that you make about the life and the universe and everything. If Josh can wake up and he can put on his oxygen tank and go to the gym and lift weights and walk on the treadmill, right? Like, oxygen on a treadmill. If he can ride his bike, if he can, everything Josh did.
Go ziplining.
Yeah, go ziplining. Just an inspiration, and with a capital I. So I think a lot of what I learned about coaching, ultimately the seeds were planted with Josh. And I'll get into my coaching journey later, how that connects, but that's definitely top influence. My parents, I was homeschooled, so spent a lot of time at home. And I think a lot of the thoughts behind our company and helping families engage and people engage and everybody be engaged together. I was able to challenge some of the accepted perspectives that, mom and dad go off to work and they come back, and just kind of working on very little margin that I see in society. I think a lot of my hopes for the world stem from my childhood and just my parents. So.
Wow. Sorry to hear about your brother. I imagine that was
hardest thing in my life.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Going through all this, what did you learn about yourself?
I think I learned that you can't grieve well. That includes me. I love doing things well, and I don't think I can grieve well. I don't think anybody can grieve well. It's not something you do well. You can't. You just do it.
It's foundationally hard.
Yeah. I learned a lot about reliance. I think in a lot of ways that tragedy built our marriage because we relied on each other a lot. I learned I can function on a lot less sleep. I didn't sleep for most of last year. Grief does weird things to me when I try to sleep. So I can function on a lot less sleep than I thought. I learned that about myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lots of lessons. I think we could probably do a whole podcast on that, John. But
yeah, for sure.
Probably
for
good.
Sure. And lack of sleep is good training. If you have little ones in the future.
Yeah.
So I've heard.
That's basic training 101.
You got a crash course.
You still function with no sleep, right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Brittany, how about you? What's your?
Yeah, well, I also have a special needs sister, and I think that was a big part of what just drew us together as friends early on, because it is your normal when you're a special needs family is totally different from everybody else's normal. And you don't always realize it until you find the other person where you're like, oh my gosh, you know what I'm talking about. I don't have to explain what this feels like. I don't have to, walk you through the craziness that is our life. And so I think that was a big part of our connection. But my sister, Alyssa, is a couple of years younger than me. And I feel like I did a great job explaining it, but there's something powerful about watching someone who just perseveres no matter what. And for Alyssa, she's just perpetually happy too. Like there's never a thought in her mind that her life is not anything other than what should be anything other than what it is. She wakes up and she loves her life.
Very
in the moment. And things might be hard, but she does them. Growing up, my mom did a good job. If we wanted to do something, we did it, and it might take our family 18 times longer with Alyssa, climbing a mountain or going on a hike or going to amusement parks, but we did it, and Alyssa did it, and she's still, just the things that she can do and put together, and the connection that she has with other people. It's really cool realizing that it's not all about, what are the things you can hold in your head, but emotional intelligence and connecting with people and positivity and resilience. Yeah, all of it is like, that's what life's about. And so I think, I mean, she was born 13 months after I was. And so I've never remembered life without Alyssa. So we've just always been together. And she's always been a part of my life. And just knowing and believing that really anything's possible, because we watched our siblings do the impossible every day.
Well said.
That's incredible. Imagine, what was it like when you found out that the other one also had a sibling?
I think it's actually how we met first. So it wasn't as surprising as it sounds. It was the baseline for us, but
we were working at the same company, and I think you got hired and it was in your bio or something. And I was just like, hey, I have a special needs sibling too. And there was one other person at the company, and we all kind of like just connected. We had an email chain going and had calls together. It was great to find that person that you clicked with on that level.
People talk about third culture kids, and I think my response to that is other culture kids. And a lot of special needs is an other culture. We both get along really well with third culture kids or other culture kids who grew up with not just one culture. And I think that's probably why special needs is its own culture, its own world, if you will. So it resonates.
Oh my gosh, Amy, that's amazing.
Let me see what Amy wrote.
She's talking about her special needs person in kindergarten. That is really so cool. Incredible. Thank you for that, sharing that. I love it.
Amy wrote, just for the podcast, my special needs person was Wayne Royer. I will never forget him ever. I wish I could find him in this world. So Wayne, if you're listening or watching to this, please reach out. We will see if we can find you. He was in my kindergarten class 50 years ago. Wow, he made a lasting impression on me forever. He was my why I majored in LD/social and emotional behavior disorders. Loved and love Wayne. My underdog is my superhero. I can relate to you too. Yes, please. He played his guitar for me and my mom in the car pickup line. Love him still. All right, Amy, we'll see what we can do. We'll see if we get there.
Okay.
Matt and Brittany, you led a course for Coach Training EDU that included Peter. And
Peter's on. I don't know if you saw, Peter's on here. He was messaging us.
Peter's on here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Peter,
you are one of our favorite coaches in the world.
Yep. Our inspiration. We've had so many ideas and motivation from Peter. Do you want to share, John? Or
please, no, you. Yes, go for it.
Okay. So I had the privilege of leading a Coach Training EDU class with Peter and his mom, Joyce. And Peter, I think you're about 20 now, Peter. You can correct me in the chat if I get anything wrong. And has autism and is nonverbal. And so it was the first time that I've been around other individuals who are nonverbal. Personally, I think everybody's communicative, so nonverbal just means you're not using words, but Peter is highly communicative. And we had an amazing class, 6 months. It was the first time we'd done that in a coach training class. Our dog's here being a little rambunctious, so if you hear noises, that's what's happening. But just working with Peter was really incredible, and it was exciting to see, I think for both of us, because I think both of our siblings had and have so much potential, and we know the obstacles and hurdles that you have to overcome to pursue anything really, when you have extra unique challenges. But it was really, really cool to watch Peter, just watch you learn the coaching skills. You're a phenomenal coach. He coached Eddie after class was over.
There were tears.
Gotten on the phone with him.
Solid coach.
He's an amazing coach. Eddie was in tears, thinking about his questions for a week afterwards. It was profound. So we're really, really grateful to have Peter in our life too. And thankful for the coaching class that brought us all together, because it was powerful.
Right. There was the whole thing, how it all came together was, it was tentative. It was a lot of, will this work? Is this something that can happen if, with verbal processing and coaching is such a verbal thing. And Jen was a co-leader, and the impact that she still brings it up regularly in our training meetings about the impact that course has had on her. What do you see the lessons from Hi, Joyce. What do you, Joyce is Peter's mom. What do you see the lessons that you've taken from your childhood from this? What would you like the world to know? Or what does the world need to know?
We were actually talking this morning about one of the biggest frustrations about what we do is we're trying to convince a world that has been trained that fear and scarcity is right and true and correct, that joy and gratitude and hope and love and abundance and belief and perseverance are better. And we've seen it. We have seen the people that the world tries to forget exist live in happy, full lives because of what they do in here and what they do in here. They do the work that the rest of us don't want to do. They have no choice. They do the work. And when you see someone doing that work that well, it changes your life. And if I could shout one thing from the rooftops, it's better. There is something better out there than scarcity and fear. There's something better. There is illogical love and illogical hope and illogical peace and illogical abundance and illogical prosperity and joy if you claim it and if you do the work, and it is the hardest freaking work in the world.
Wow.
I've got my little like joy mug on my shoulder here, right? It is the hardest work in the world, but we've seen it. Like we know that we know that we know that we know that it works. We have certitude that it works. And it's like, it's the dog that saw the rainbow trying to tell the other dogs that there's a rainbow out there. All I see is black and white. Like there's a rainbow out there. I've seen it. Yeah.
I think one of the things I'm struck by is that it's internal, external work, but it's work that it's only available for each of us to do. And we're the only ones who can do it for ourselves in some degree. How do you see, let's say 10, 20 years from now, how do you see, because a lot of stereotypes have been broken in the past decade, 2 decades. Where do you see that, or where are the frontiers in the way that people view people with special needs?
Gosh, big questions, John.
Yeah.
If I can, I think that actually what we're going through right now with COVID and a complete shift of our world and how we view it, like we're all viewing it from a different perspective right now, right? We're all at home. We're all with our families and our dog and our, and connecting virtually. And I think there's something profound about this period right now. And you can talk about meaning making in a minute, about how the whole world is shifting the way that we view each other and ourselves. And for the first time, like we, as a globe, we have a common enemy, and it's not humanity. Like right. That's never happened before. Like any other point in history where you've had people joining together to face something, they were facing off against somebody else. And we're not doing that. We're joining as humanity, facing off against something that's unknown. It's a virus. It's not each other. And so in our better moments, when we're not feeling claustrophobic inside and stuff, we're both really excited about what this can mean for the world. And I think the connection is that as we become better at viewing humanity as a whole, we'll be better at viewing each other as individuals and seeing what that person is for who they are, not for whatever construct we had made up in our minds that, this is what success looks like, or this is what a productive person looks like, or this is what XYZ looks like. Like we're all questioning everything right now. And so I think the possibilities 5-10 years from now is that we have a much more connected world where we're all focused on seeing the humanity in each other.
I would echo everything you said. Yeah. I'm really tempted right now to turn the computer to my whiteboard and do like a 5-minute conversation on meaning making stages, but I don't think it's the best use of our time.
We can come back and do that.
We'll come back.
That might be, I mean, there might be time, Edward, let's look at it.
All right.
All right. So getting back to some of the set questions, when did you meet and what did you first think?
So we worked at the same company, but virtually. So we've worked remote our entire careers. So I was working in Texas. He was working in South Carolina.
We met working on a project. Actually, it was ironically enough, Teresa, I'm not sure if she's on this call, but you know Teresa, John.
Yeah.
Teresa and Brittany and I were working on missed call procedures for clients. What do we do when clients don't show up, disrespect coaching sessions? So we had this massive brainstorm meeting and discussing, and we met there. It was our first project together. Project became friendship.
For the record, was 8 years ago. So
yeah, been a while.
It's been a while.
I have the document still. I saved it in my Google Docs.
Like all of her chats to you? You save them?
5 emails. I just keep saving it so I can see the headed history. Projects turned to friendship, and then friendship turned to best friendship. I remember we were actually at the Mayo Clinic. I was with my family there, probably 3 years ago now, 4 years ago.
4 years.
4 years ago now. And we got some very bad news about his health. Basically, that we were looking at the tail end of his life, and nothing we could do about it. And it was at that moment when I had half a dozen friends I could have called. I picked the phone and called her first. It was that's when I knew. It was oh, she's my best friend. Because she gets it. None of my other friends would get that conversation. How do you have that conversation with a friend? What do they say? Oh, I'm so sorry. I can't. There's nothing they can say. But she got it. Right. We talked and we cried, and it was great. And that was that's when I realized, oh, she's my best friend. And we were best friends for a while. And
it's still remote at this point. He's in South Carolina. I went from Texas to Colorado. So just connecting initially over work. I left the company. We stayed friends, stayed connected.
Yep.
Then became business partners.
So flew out to Colorado for a business planning session with Christina, actually, who's also on the call or was. Hey, Christina.
Such a connected world.
Yep, very. Hey, yeah. So.
Wait, why am I missing this? Where's Christina?
I was just looking to make sure Christina's. We saw her on, so we wanted to still on.
Yeah. So flew out here. Planned a business together with some other friends, and
we kind of had a group of coaches who were all working on their own things separately and had an opportunity. This is hilarious because Cher is also here, a good friend of ours, who did a strategic planning for us. And so we kind of were well, hey, let's take advantage of this incredibly generous offer to do strategic planning and kind of figure out, do we want to build things separately and just be an encouragement for each other, or do we want to build something together? And the outcome of that was that we wanted to build something together. So
a few months later, I packed up my 4Runner and drove across the U.S. and camped through the country in February. Would recommend doing it at some point. It's worth the experience. Arrived in Colorado on February 3rd of 2018, and summer of 2019.
No, 18.
Summer 2018.
It didn't take long once we were in the same place. Yeah, a few months.
Started dating. We officially were dating in
September.
But if you look at our camera rolls on our phone, something changed around June.
It was really funny. We were looking back through pictures, and it was we went from this kind of friends, taking selfies, to being this kind of friend.
Something changed.
We were oh, something interesting happened in June, July.
So cute. You could do a computer analysis to see the separation.
Yeah, the inches apart. It's something happened. And here we are.
Right.
Business partners.
Yeah. I mean, it's a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing.
It's a long story. Thanks for listening.
It's actually the shortest I think we've told it. So.
Well done.
It's pretty succinct. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty there. And it probably wonders how much did the people setting up the strategic planning, how much did they know ahead of time? I think this might.
That's a question for Sarah later.
We'll ask Sarah. That'll be interesting.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah.
I think what was funny is we'd been friends for so long that it wasn't unusual for each other's name to come up in conversation. But we also, I think a hallmark of our relationship is open communication. So anytime we felt unclear about something, we would just talk and be like, where are we at? And it's like, oh, still friends. That, like, yeah. Every John, this is funny, actually. Every single person we have ever told about us being together, their response was some version, their response was some version of finally, except for you. Like, we were on a coach training session and it came up and you just sat there and you were like, I had no idea.
Which I really appreciated personally, because we get a lot of ragging for like, oh, it's about time. In all seriousness, though, like, it wasn't the right time until it was the right time. Like, it was the right day. Looking back, that's another conversation, but it was the right.
The timing was so right, but it was really funny because everybody, including all the people who know us in this group, were like, finally. Except your response was like, I had no idea.
I mean, I didn't. I mean, I see what's funny about the coach training is like reverse neighbors. You know, you get to know someone's, inner critic, future self, all the internal stuff, but you don't know if they have a dog or cat or
right.
What they look like from the, torso down. I mean, it's the opposite. It's like the anti-neighbor.
It's so great. That's a great
and
point.
So, yeah, in this case, I mean, it is what it is. What's it like being two married MCC coaches? Like, what do you think is different about the way you communicate from, let's say, the untrained, the uncoached trained?
Oh boy.
I think we've been saying this to a lot of businesses and teams in a remote context, but I think it's true about us, is that we over communicate. Like if there is something to talk about, we are talking about it, and we're talking about it at like 10,000 foot deep and 30,000 feet up and how many different angles. And I mean, last year was really hard. Like
last year was the hardest year of my life.
There were things that happened beyond Josh dying that were almost as hard. It was a really, really hard year. So that plus over communication was honestly rather exhausting. It was an exhausting year, but I think it set us up really well because
very tempering. Yeah,
nothing was off the table, and we knew that we could say anything that needed to be said. Not even just to each other, but about everything that was happening. So that, I think that's the first thing that comes to mind.
Yeah, over communication for sure. I remember when I decided I wanted to marry a coach. I was probably 1.5 coach training classes through my career. It's like, I can't imagine not marrying a coach. Like, I can't. These skills are so foundational to relationship. And the kind of marriage I want needs a coach for a spouse. I remember where I was. I was scribbling in a notebook on top of the washing machine in the laundry room. Like, I remember it. I think there's an element of not settling, which I think goes back to like the curiosity competency of coaching. I don't think either of us has seen a marriage we want to emulate fully yet. We know some really awesome marriages, but we want something different. So there's that constantly pressing into the unknown and the curiosity of like,
what could be.
Being more fully married, more one. The adventure of it is very coach-esque in the pursuit and curiosity of another person's soul. So.
And I'll add one more thing. I think just the growth mindsets, like
learning. Yeah.
We joke, we traveled so much last year because the way our personalities work, like we both have big ideas. He has ideas all day long, and I love to execute on ideas. And we both are like, I think because of growth mindsets, and like, it's like, well, why not? Like if we want to do something, now's the time, not 20 years from now. So he'd be like, hey, we should go to the UK. I'm like, okay, cool. 2 days later, we had flights and we should go to Korea. And it's like, okay, all right. We're like, really? Like, we're really going to do that? Okay, cool. Found flights, booked flights to Korea. And it made, we came into this year saying we wanted to stay home more, which worked out because now we all have to stay home.
Good choice.
It was a good choice, but
you were brain coupled with the universe at that point.
We need you to start wishing for other things now. Like, wish to go out into the world.
Well, we want 2021 to be another year of international travel. We settled on all year.
Oh, good.
So we should be good by 2021, John.
Good.
Yep. But those I think are, yeah, I love how you said it, just going deeper, being curious with each other and about each other. I think growth mindsets and communication, like those are the things that define our relationship.
And like commitment to growth.
Mm-hmm.
One of the hardest points of last year, we had a conversation where like we both knew at the end of the day, no matter what, we both pursue growth. We know it. So when you know that about each other and about yourself.
That's so powerful. When two people trust each other to grow each other, I mean, there's no better relationship than that. It's so beautiful to see.
And I think trusting the growth process, knowing that he's going to grow in ways that are different from me, and it sometimes at a rate that's different from me, and I'm going to grow in ways that are different. But trusting the process and trusting that the growth is a huge part of what's going to keep us connected, even if we're growing in seemingly different ways.
We've been growing like DNA strands our entire friendship, like parallel, complementary, like an upward dance.
But we always come at things from different angles. So there's this point in time when we're growing where we look at the other person like they're slightly crazy, whereas like, how on earth? And then as we keep growing, we kind of like come to the middle. We're like, oh, now I see what you were saying.
That's so cool. It's so cool. What advice would you have for someone first starting out on their coach training journey?
So this will actually answer that question and answer Tanya's question to a degree.
Cool.
When I first started studying coaching, I was given tons of books. They're all on this shelf right here behind me. I had to be a coach. It was all about tools, wheels of life and grids and graphs and circles. Coaches love shapes. I don't know why. We love our shapes, triangles and circles. And I still do. Like I will guarantee you, whenever I start to explain something on a whiteboard, it's either a circle, a triangle, or a square. It will be. It just is. But I was given all these tool sets. It's like coaching is about tool sets. Okay, I got this. Tool sets. I'm going to learn all the tool sets. And then I coached a bit longer. I was like, no. Coaching is about skill sets, like active listening, powerful questions. Skill sets. Coaching is about skill sets. Okay, cool. I got this. And then I took a bit deeper. I was like, oh no, wait, darn it. Coaching is not about tool sets or skill sets. It's about mindsets. Okay, that's a little harder. I'll get a coach, right? He'll coach me. I'll work on my mindsets because I can't do mindsets on my own. I need a coach. Mindsets. Okay, got this. And then I said to myself, I want to be an MCC. I want to be a master coach. And I banged my head against that wall. And I tried harder and harder and harder and white knuckled it more and more and more and more to be an MCC coach. I'm going to be an MCC coach. Gosh darn it. I'm going to be good at what I do. So I no longer have to be like people questioning the legitimacy of my career. I'm an MCC coach, right? And then I found out the hard way through some really hard, deep internal work that it's not about mindsets or skill sets or tool sets alone. It's about heart sets. It's how my heart sees me and how my heart sees you. And there's that dichotomy, this beautiful dance of you have limitless potential and you're also foundationally broken, just like me. So there's abundant potential, limitless potential. You're not perfect. There's infinite potential for you to grow and for me to grow. We're not perfect yet. And also you're perfect just the way you are. And when that heart set clicked for me, where I could look at myself and say, Eddie, you are perfect just the way you are. And also there's a lot of room to grow. Not judgmentally, just with curiosity. Then I became a master coach.
That's beautiful, Eddie. I could just listen to you all day. Just keep going. What else, bro? Like just.
You get it. It's a journey, dude.
Right.
Like choosing to be an MCC coach was like, we were condemning ourselves to some massively hard, deep internal work that no one warned us about. Like there should have been a warning label on that thing. True warning label. The wildest ride of my life. But do it again. But like, don't do it lightly. Like that is some, you will change.
On a technical level, the difference between PCC and CC is the difference between,
back to the details.
Thank you, John.
between 500 hours of experience and 2,500 hours of experience.
Yeah.
On every other level, it's what It's what Eddie said.
Yeah.
And it's a lot about, you know, looking at every little sigh, every little pause, everything is questioned, and it's an intense process. What was it like for you, Brittany, to get your NCC?
Yeah. Gosh, it was funny because I had set a goal. I wanted to have my MCC by the time I was 30. And I knew that was ambitious, but I had the hours. But like Eddie said, the mindsets and the heart sets come a lot slower than the hours. And the hours took time. So it was quite a process. It was funny because I had actually said, I don't know, my answer is not going to be as like profound as Eddie's. My brain goes more logistical normally. But I had wanted that, and then just in the middle of life and building a business, I was like, you know what, that's not the most important thing right now. So I'll get there. I'll get there in the next year or two, but it doesn't have to be by the time I'm 30. And then the ICF actually changed a couple of policies that made it important for me to get my application in. And so I ended up getting it in anyway. And so it all worked out. But there was a moment, well, there were several moments. There was swearing involved. Can we be real? It was like,
swearing and drinking, and yeah, that was, wow.
It's a process, because like Eddie said, you got to work on yourself to be able to show up the way you need to for that other person. So two things stand out to me about the process. One, I remember just saying, I don't think I can do this. Like, this is hard, and this is more challenging than I thought. And I thought I was a good coach before I did this and started taking apart my coaching. And I was coaching a client, and I remember getting off the phone and thinking, I don't think I'm even a coach, much less an MCC coach. Like, I don't think I know anything anymore. And I called my dad, and he did this really great job, because I was like, you know, it's a lot of time and a lot of money I don't have, because we're in the startup stage of a business, and I don't think it's even worth it. And he's like, yeah, but what's going to happen if you don't even try? It's like, you're always going to look back and say, maybe I could have, but I'll never know because I didn't try. And then he did a really good dad move and sent me like a YouTube video of like a basketball coach yelling at his team about having heart and doing it. So like, he didn't yell at me and tell me that, but he kind of did by sending me the YouTube video. So I remember like, similar to some of Eddie's moments, like being in the kitchen, watching that video, being like, all right, like, I might not make it, but I don't want to be afraid of failure to the point that it keeps me from pushing ahead. And so I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to do what I know I need to do. And at the end of the day, if I send it in and they say, hey, not quite yet, you're not there, I'm like, cool, then I know. And then I know how I can grow. And that's okay. Like, I can move ahead planning how to grow. But it didn't happen. I sent it in. I got the letter. It was like 4.5 months. It was a ridiculously long time.
I could not legit move my legs. I was lying on my bed reading emails and doing emails, and I got the email from the ICF. And it's like, thank you for. It's a really, like, if you work with the ICF and you hear this, please change the header. The header was like, thank you for your application. Is like, it reads like you failed. Like, you read the header and you read like the first sentence and a half, and it trails off. It's like, oh shoot. And you open it, and it's like, please see details attached below. And you click it, and it's a graph that you have to like interpret to know whether you actually passed or not. And it's like,
sure.
Oh, right? Like, I think I screamed.
You did scream.
Yeah, I screamed. Our other business partner, Josh, and Brittany and I were all at the house working together, and I was in the other room doing emails, and I just screamed, and they came running like, what, like, you see a bug or a spider, or it's just like a mouse, like, what the heck, right? I just pointed at my computer screen. I couldn't talk, I couldn't move my legs, and like 20 minutes
I got mine
later,
like 22 minutes later. Yeah. I was like, I'm not going to be okay if I have to wait days because we both had the same deadline we were working with, and so we submitted it at the same time. So yeah, I got mine pretty right after that, which was good.
And you knew ahead of time that it was going to be a puzzle for you to work out, just whether or not you got it.
So. I knew what to look for this time.
Yeah, you have to interpret it. You have to go through and,
right.
you know, what are we looking at here?
Oh man, it's a process.
Wow. I know a couple. I mean, I know. I think I can call somebody at the ICF. I'm racking my head of.
Nice.
As an encouragement to everybody here, like there were times where both of us wanted to quit. Like I was in a coffee shop downtown in Colorado Springs, and I was like, I can't do this right now. I give up. I can't do this.
Well, I think it's a process every MCC coach goes through. I mean, everyone in the process of the application of MCC coach goes through this idea of, I think I'm a great coach. And then I realized there's a whole nother level of coaching, and wow, am I really committed to growing through that?
John, you know, I was cocky. Holy cow, dude. Like when I first started coaching, I was cocky.
I'm awesome. I have 2,500 hours of coaching. I know what I'm doing, right?
Yeah, you were very patient. It's quite a roller coaster, though.
It is. It's hard. I think part of the coaching world is this idea of when you're coaching, you're also, I mean, you're growing almost through osmosis of just being around someone else's growth.
So true.
How do you, like, when do you know, like, how do you know you're being an amazing coach?
So I've taught a lot of classes with Coach Training EDU. Right. And I try and tell people at the beginning, I don't use the skill set, heart set, tool set thing, though I might, that might be good. But I say, you know, we're going to spend a lot of time unlearning things. We're going to learn how not to let the voice in our head take over. We're going to learn to stop talking and listen. Like we're going to unlearn a lot of things first. Then we're going to learn some things. And we add those tool sets and skill sets back in. But about the time we're halfway through coach training, once we've done that, once we've done some of the unlearning and then we've put that foundation of skills and tools in place, the thing that I tell everybody, and I try and tell myself and remind myself, because there's still days where I'm like, I don't even know what that was. Was that coaching? Was that like, I don't know. At the end of the day, it's about how you show up with that other person. And are you connecting to where that person is? And and I love that the ICF, the new competencies, put I think they put coaching presence as like one of the core. Like if nothing else, you've got your ethics and you've got coaching presence. And I really think that's it. Because if you show up and you are connected to the other person for the sake of them, everything else can go out the window. It really can. Like you can ask a question that's like, that was not open-ended. It was not short. But somehow it's powerful.
Grammar, like it wasn't even a real question.
It wasn't even a real, the English was all wrong, but it's like, but the presence was there, and that overrides everything because somehow they get it. If you're really connected to the other person and you just mumble like a few random words that don't seem to make sense, but you're connected, they're gonna get it, and they're gonna be like, oh wow. And you're like, really? Like, I don't even know where that question came from, but good, because we're connected. Like we've got the heart of each other. And if you show up and are present with another person, everything else, like I truly believe everything else can go out the window because that's going to be valuable.
Right.
There's some great TED Talks about neural entrainment and brain coupling. It's one of my many favorite things in life, but that's why coaching works. Like we've both traveled internationally. You can brain couple with someone who's not even speaking the same language. You can connect, and you can tell the space between me and between you is porous, and we're connected. It's really cool, and I think like right now with COVID, I'm so excited about it. Like there's less space between us as people. Like we're craving connection. I'd go hug anybody right now. I don't care what they smell like or look like. I would hug anybody. Like they're a human being. I need a hug, right? They're a soul. It is a world we're going through that right now. And I'm rambling, so I'll try to tie it back.
Eddie, you have such a way of taking space and filling it with love. Like it's like the whole space, the world stops and just love.
Oh, well, thank you. I love you, John.
In the space. It's the stillness. There's a stillness in there. What All right, so we have to open up for questions. I just looked at the time and realized, what? It's flying. Are you kidding me? What? There's two people. And I feel like I've been so trained. I don't know if you feel the same way on an hour. Like I feel like I have, after coaching so much, there's an internal hour clock that goes,
yeah. Oh, definitely. Definitely. Hi, Cassie, by the way.
Let's go for some questions.
Yes.
Just lots of love so far on the chat. That was exceptionally well put, Eddie. I think that was to you. Wow, that was beautiful, friend. Also, in response to you earlier, Eddie, crazy good stuff right there when you were talking about heart sets.
Everyone freaked out at that point. They were like, what?
Right? MCC, PCC, yes, that's in the space. Love that so much. Let's go for some questions. Let's get maybe a question or two. What does sharing presence with others feel like? That's a generous question.
Thanks. Yeah. It's a good question. So another one of my good friends is a coach. We've actually had a conversation on this, and I think it's different for everybody. Some people get tears. I usually get tears or elicit tears from clients. Crying is not an unusual thing on my coaching sessions, which is kind of unfortunate for some, but it is what it is. My friend, his hair stands up on end. His arms, his neck, back of his neck.
I get butterflies in my stomach and chills. There's a moment in almost every coaching session where something happens that I get chills, and it's like, oh, we just got there. Like, I don't know what just happened, but we just got there.
I think every coaching session has a connection point, a shift, and an entrainment, for lack of a better term. Like when the space between my soul and your soul is totally gone. For all intents and purposes, we are sharing that same space. And you can feel it. There's a biological response to that third one. The shift is like, oh, they just figured it out. The synapses in their brain connected. The thing they were trying to resolve resolved. They get it. The coaching session is officially successful. From now on, we're just doing logistics. Good job. You did the thing. Your brain and us did the thing. And the initial connection of like, hey, I'm here with you. I'm inviting you into the space. I'm holding space for you. Will you come into the space with me? I think the ICA doesn't talk about those three things in those terms, but I think those are the three, like you asked how you know I've been a successful coach, it's those three things. It's, did I do those three things on a session? Did I initially connect? Was there a shift? And did we have an entrainment?
Is so true. Yes. And I think the ironic thing is so many people think that a coaching session is about figuring out something outside when it's not. It's figuring out something, or not even figuring out something, but allowing something to be resolved inside. And working with someone is one of the ways to do that. One more question here from Max. What is next for the two of you?
Lunch.
Very practical, yes.
I think Culture Box.
Yeah,
we're excited about
Culture Box is our next thing. We've got a lot of moving pieces there, but the idea is, I think what's cool is in a world where we've all suddenly gone virtual and have to adapt to there, Culture Box is going to be something that we deliver to your mailbox as a leader or as a team member to help you show up and engage, both in an online and an in-person setting, but primarily focused on online. So we're putting together the workbook, we're putting together the activities and the concepts, and we're excited about it.
It's one part game, one part workbook, one part like really, really fast coach training all in a box with some fun things to do. And a manual to help you do it. So you can go be a leader and you can show up for your team. We've been doing Culture Pulse for the last year. We actually go and we do it for a team, but we want to actually empower a leader to do it themselves because it's their team. We don't need to build loyalty to us. Not our team. We're leaving. It's your team. You go do the thing. You go lead them.
Yeah, I saw that on your website. Is it Company Pulse or
Culture Pulse?
Culture Pulse. Culture Box is basically the box we give you to do Culture Pulse yourself.
Got it. And in this work, what do you, how do you, so when you're doing culture work, like with the company, how do you see the impact of that in like, long range, like, years from now? How do you, because that seems to be a buzzword now. What's the company culture? Like, how are you nurturing that? How are you cultivating it? Where do you see business going in the next decade?
I think more remote or more blended workforces are going to have to. Employees, by and large, want a blended work-life balance. They are the happiest when they get it, and companies.
And we just did it.
Yeah, we just did it. So you can't come back after COVID and say, "Sorry, you can't work remote." So we just kept your company alive for the last month working remote. Why can't we keep doing it? So we know, just like we know that the planet's a lot healthier when we're not polluting it. Like we can see the Himalayas for the first 30 years. Like we have evidence now. The air pollution in Asia is down dramatically. We know, we have proof. So you can't go back and say that won't work when we know it works. So I think that's a big thing.
I think that for us, engagement, when you look up the word, or kind of the way we summarize the definition is just being all in. Like when you engage, you're all. And I think the power of company culture comes when you have engaged team members who show up all in and who know how to do that at work and in life and with family and know how to blend those together. And so I think that's what we're all experimenting with right now. And I think the power of that 10 years from now, like it could be an entirely different world if we choose for it to be. Like it's hard to even begin to talk about the implications that it could have if every single one of us woke up every day and said, I love my life, I love everything about it, and I am all in what I do. Like that's mind blowing.
And people want to be all in. Like the entrepreneurship trend right now isn't because there aren't good jobs available. It's because people want to be all in and they're not being invited to a space at work where they can be all in, or the all inness of a company culture is not being cultivated. So if you can create a space where your whole team feels all in, they can be all in, they want to be all in, and you're all doing it together, you're all owning it. You're giving your life and your blood and your sweat and your sacred honor to that task, to that product, to that service, to make the world a better place. Holy cow. Like, we haven't even seen that before. That has not happened.
All right.
I want to see it.
Yeah, I think you're busting myths, like, and assumptions that people have that really hold back, a kind of full engagement. In essence, that's what the heart of your work centers around. Well, we're at the top of the hour, and I know we have to go. And if you have more questions, please visit the Coach Training EDU blog in this resilience series, the resilience series, which we are going to keep going. This has been like the energy infusion of this in the community has, it brings me such joy, and there's so much emotion around all of this, and Brittany and Edward, thank you. Thank you for being our first coaching couple, our first duo interview.
Thank you.
Thanks for helping us get here, John. You are a common denominator in our coaching journey.
Absolutely.
Well, I was hoping that Coach Training EDU, and at the time when you were going through it, it was academic. It was just academic life coaching, and that was the program. I was hoping that academic life coaching could take sole responsibility for both of you joining together as a couple, but I realized that's not the case. But I do tend to think that it played a pivotal role.
I think so.
It played a pivotal role, and it also, like, you inspired us. We could be MCC coaches who were young, because you're the only MCC coach we knew that wasn't in their 60s or 70s. It's like, John can do it, we can do it. Thank you. Like you
paved the way.
You paved the way. So thank you for that.
I appreciate that. It was an interesting path. When I was going through, because I went through, because the Moist went through, and so she went through, and she got trained a year before I did. And when she got trained, she should have. That was unusual, and she was brilliant with it. And looking at the path, I think what tends to happen too on this coaching journey, you get buddies. You get people who are all in the same boat, going the same direction, similar mindsets, heart sets, care about the world. The coaching world is such a loving, compassionate, beautiful space, and it is richer with the two of you in it. Thank you for what you do, really, truly. it's making a difference. And Eddie, man, just keep doing that thing, man. That is mwah, love it. Love it. If you want to see more of them, go to the Coach Train EDU blog. There's going to be a post. Please put questions there. We'll create community there. Thank you again, Brittany and Edward. You're a beautiful couple. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. This completes the Coaching the First cast. Thanks, everyone. See you next time.
Nice.